Hello, Renee. How are you doing?
Hello, Maya.
Woo! Great to
I'm
see
doing
you.
great. It feels like it's been forever
We had
since
a
we
break
spoke.
last week or the week before. I don't know. I haven't
Yeah, we
spoken
did.
to
We
you
had
for
fourth
far too
because we
long.
had 4th of July in the
Oh, because we had the 4th of
US.
July. So what did you do for the 4th of July?
Yes. Absolutely nothing. It was awesome. I think we took a trip to Barnes and Nobles, which I think you're familiar, right? It's a big, giant bookstore here in the US.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and I love books and I love to read and I love it. And it was absolutely desolate. Like it was just, we also went an hour before it closed. So it was great because we avoided all the crowds because everybody was at the beach or everybody was doing whatever they were doing. And, at their barbecues. And we were at Barnes and Nobles an hour before it closed. So we're a very boring couple and we really like it that way.
For me, it was a crazy weekend because I went back to rock climbing after my injury.
Really?
Yeah, so I think I'm at the like 95% of my
Mhm.
capabilities from before the
Yeah,
injury.
injury. Hmm.
So it's really good. It's progressing really good. And I went a little bit crazy last week because now I have some friends that started to go together with me. Like they are complete
Hmm.
beginners. So I
Hmm.
feel very very funny because suddenly I'm the teacher. Like I'm the instructor. I'm the coach for the bouldering, which I never thought it's gonna happen. But I'm actually pretty good comparing to them. I feel very strong. But we also went. So the place that I go to on a regular basis, Vault, it's called
Hmm.
Vault.
Hmm.
Those friends of mine, they opened another location in a city about 1.5 hours drive. And then
Okay.
my Małgosia, my wife, she came to me and she's like, "Hey, you know what? We should go and visit Łódź, this other city." Uh, and I was like, I don't know. And she said, like, but remember, they've opened the bouldering gym there, so we could go and visit it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
She knows how to get you to where she
Yes,
wants you to be.
yes,
Good
yes,
job.
yes. So it was funny because we had a weekend of a little bit of travel,
Hmm.
and I'm already looking forward to like a lot of travel is developing. I think I have a full book right now of my travels plan. I'll be going to um, I'll be going to windsurfing in about 2 weeks. Okay, to the north
Ooh.
of Poland,
Uh-huh.
and we will be, and then I'm gonna go to Barcelona. Believe it or
Hmm.
not, just for
Hmm.
a couple of days. I have some business visits over there to
Hmm.
talk to some people, and then I got a call over the weekend from my friends from Munich, and they were like, the 2nd of October, we have tickets for Oktoberfest, so maybe you would like to come. so, so
Sure.
my travel schedule is building. So, if anybody wants to meet me in Barcelona
And you're
between
coming to
the,
the US, right? We have
and I'm
another
coming to the US,
B2SMB event. Yes.
yes, to the B2SMB event. It's going to
Yeah.
be another great event.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm gonna have any keynote speech there, but I'm definitely we are building together with Dave a very strong agenda and a
Hmm.
very strong lineups of speakers. He said that he
Hmm.
wants to use my experience in how to build an interesting event. So I'm gonna be helping him for
Hmm.
sure. So a lot of travel. So
Hmm.
if anybody wants to meet me between the 5th and the 7th of August in Barcelona, I'll be there. And 1st through 3rd of October in Munich, I'm going to be there as well. I'm looking forward to meet with everybody again. And US is going to be actually, it's going to be a long trip, Renee. So
Mm.
you and I will see each other for
Of
sure.
course. Yes.
That's given, okay. But
Hmm.
I'll be visiting uh, on my first trip. I'll be visiting Chicago, Houston, Dallas, and LA. 2-3 days in each and every destination. So
Hmm.
that sounds. I'm really excited about it. What can I say?
I love that. I am trying to not travel so much and stay at home, and have been successful. I I needed to spend some time just with some clients and really staying focused on continuing to build clean canvas. So being at home has been nice. Yeah. But I'll like you. So when you start coming in October, I'll be at the World of Business Ideas. I'll be with you at the SMB event. There's a lot of great things happening. The John Maxwell team also has a day of growth here in Orlando, and I'll be at that for the day of growth, as well as doing some more training with them. They have like a corporate facilitator training that I'll be just refreshing and tuning up my skills. But yeah, it's very exciting.
Speaking of tuning your skills,
Yes.
obviously we need to continue because there was some interest in our discussion about the 5 levels of leadership. So
Hmm.
today I'm going to pick your brains on the next on one of the levels of
Look
leadership.
at those
So
two gorgeous people. Hmm,
yes,
very impressive. Yeah.
super smart and nice.
Yes.
Okay. So, 5 levels of leadership. We started this discussion, what, 2 weeks
Hmm.
ago, 3 weeks ago,
Hmm.
and there was some interest in us following up
Yeah.
and running some of those conversations on a regular basis. So here we are. I think we should be starting with the basics, with a positional leadership, right? Which
Hmm.
means
Hmm.
people follow you because they have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I did prepare some slides to support our conversation, but as usual, we'll draw on your knowledge from the Maxwell trainings and
Hmm.
our joint experience
Practical
various,
experience from work. Yes.
from various positions that we have held over the years. So,
Hmm.
what is this positional leadership in your own words, Renee?
Well, this is interesting because it's very common for anyone in a formal leadership role, right? You either inherit a team or you get to build a team, and those that then are reporting directly to you and depend on you for guidance, for coaching, also for their performance evaluation, and in many cases for their financial growth through either salary increases, benefits, bonuses, etc. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And positional leadership, I understand, is like the level one
Hmm.
of leadership skills.
Right.
It's when it's effectively comes to a fruition when you get promoted to become a manager, a people
Hmm.
manager. This is when you
Hmm.
become a positional leader. You get a
Yeah.
position,
Yeah.
and then you start your leadering, your
Yes.
experience,
Yeah.
with leadership. Um, what I always struggle with is that many companies, when they promote people, they don't put enough emphasis on the skills that people need to become people managers. Again, I
Yeah.
know that we repeated that several times, but in so many situations when people get promoted to become the people managers,
Hmm.
it's because of their specialist skills,
Correct.
not
Their
people
technical
managers.
expertise. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the best salesperson becomes the sales manager. The
Hmm.
best product manager becomes
Engineer. Yeah. Hmm.
product management team and
Hmm.
leader. The
Hmm.
best engineer becomes the engineering lead. Okay,
Hmm.
uh, and not necessarily, and many companies don't necessarily help those new managers to actually be successful in their new position. Yeah, which is like there are several skills that people need to have:
Yeah.
communication skills, ability to delegate things. I recently had a couple of discussions with small business owners
Hmm.
about that, and well, they go through a very similar challenges because many of the small and medium businesses, when they start their organization, uh, it's typically a one-man business, and then they
Yeah.
hire one, two, three people, and they can get by without strong delegation task or strong
Mhm.
communication skills. But at certain point in time, they will be struggling. Even they will be struggling to
Mhm.
maintain their position as a leader in the organization.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I was having this long conversation this weekend with my husband and my cousin around this very same concept, right? Um, and it's important to understand the analogy that we came up with is it's like it's taking someone that knows how to ride a bicycle and you
Hmm.
put them on a motorcycle and you assume that because they know how to ride the bicycle and balance on two wheels and they're going to know how to ride the motorcycle, right? But while they are similar, they both have two wheels and they get you from point A to point B in a more efficient way. They're completely different, right? There's new skills that you need to acquire in order to basically ride that motorcycle without crashing, right? And that's often what we see in people that get promoted into supervisor or manager roles because they were really good at doing their job as an individual contributor. And then we fail to provide, the collective we, the organization, the body of the organization fails to provide the necessary skill sets, teaching them the rules of the road, right? The basic laws, but also how does it function? How does the motorcycle work versus the bicycle? Oh yes, and we have to put gas in the motorcycle, right? Or charge it with electricity, which goes back to continuous improvement, continuous training, continuous development is your fuel. And in the past, you would have gotten that development if you're an engineer or a teacher or a doctor. You go through a skills lab or you get better at your particular craft through certain courses, and leadership needs to be treated the same way. Otherwise you're going to have a very frustrated manager slash leader because they get
Yes.
stuck in management and people expect them to lead, and you get very frustrated employees.
Not only that, the managers are frustrated because if they cannot delegate properly, they are simply overwhelmed.
Hmm.
There's only so many hours in a day that you can work, and if you don't use that wisely, okay,
Hmm.
you very quickly run out of steam. And
Yeah.
because the best thing they have is the specialization, they use the specialization to manage, correct?
Yeah.
That
And
means
often they become
typically,
micromanagers, right?
and they
Because
become
then
the
they take over.
micromanagers.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yes, and they take over and they do the work for themselves and also
Hmm.
for their employees,
Yeah.
which means that they quickly run out of time,
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, and they also frustrate their employees because their employees, they don't have the freedom to act.
Yeah.
They don't have an ability to deliver. So I think there is a couple of qualities that people have to have if they want to
Hmm.
become even a very strong positional manager.
Hmm.
So obviously, they need to establish their authority. Um, Many times, people believe that if they became a manager, they are suddenly, alpha and
Yeah.
omega. They became the gods, and they
Hmm.
they can just throw information out there and people have to follow that. and i
Yeah.
and i don't think that's and I don't think that's happening, especially when you were promoted from between your peers.
Hmm.
People don't necessarily will start respecting you as a manager because somebody gave you a title. So I think it's
Especially
a
the newer generations, right? Especially the zillennials and the millennials have never complied with that, right? Because there's so much open source data everywhere around everything, right? And there's an expectation by these newer generations that you may have the title, but that doesn't automatically mean that I'm going to give you my respect and my deference.
Yes. So I think, the fact that somebody promoted you to become a manager doesn't make you a manager yet. You still
Hmm.
need to work on establishing your authority, your position within the
Hmm.
organization. I think I actually came across a leader once, very early in my career. He was promoted. We were a team
Hmm.
of several people, and he was the one who got promoted to a manager.
Hmm.
And he wasn't a good boss. I really feel sorry for him nowadays, but back then We as a team just didn't like him as a boss at
Mhm.
all. He lasted 3 months
Mm. Mhm.
in a position. He was kind of removed from the position by the more senior management because he assumed that he's the boss and everybody has to do what he says, and
Yeah.
and other people that were just maybe a couple of weeks before were equally important in the
Yeah.
organization weren't ready to kind of submit to his ideas, especially that some of them were not particularly strong. Okay,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I think first of all you need to establish your authority. I need to make sure that you build your position to match your kind of
Yeah.
a title in the organization. I think, right?
But you should build that through trust, mutual trust and respect, which is definitely one of the ones that we'll cover in a minute. But you just don't build authority or establish authority by saying, I'm the boss, you do what I tell you. Right? That is the sure that's the fastest way to
Yes,
alienate your team.
at least in most of the companies. I think in the
Mhm.
army that's probably slightly different, but even
Correct.
in the army
Yes. Yeah.
you probably have to also
Yeah.
earn your
And
authority.
your stripes. Yeah.
Yeah. So first you establish your authority, and how you do that, I think you need to work on communicating and establishing the vision of
Hmm.
the organization. I think um, my recommendation, Renee, and this is what I always wanted to tell people is building a vision. Again, it doesn't come from you as a
Hmm.
manager. Ideally, vision, establishing a vision and spanning out the vision, it's the inspiration from the manager, but it's
Yeah.
a work of the team.
Yeah.
If you became a manager, if you were just promoted, I think
Hmm.
one of the best things you can do is get your guys together,
Hmm.
okay, and say,
Hmm.
look, let's brainstorm on
Yeah.
what is the vision, what does
Yeah.
this team stand for. I think this
Hmm.
is one of the best exercises that your organization can do.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do as a manager to show other people that you care, and you kind of brainstorm with them on what is this newly established organization. Because when you change the manager, you basically establish a little bit of a new organization, what
Hmm.
this new established team is going to look like and work like. And
Hmm.
if you let people talk and engage with you and and exchange ideas, I think you're going to build a very strong basis for your position,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And, it's interesting because I've always loved to do the visioning exercises as a team, right?
You
Because
have to.
yeah, it allows you to crystallize your own vision, but it gets everybody else's buy in. And they feel just as invested. And there's a lot of great ideas and values that come from those people that are doing the day to day work, right? So it really needs to, in in my humble opinion and experience, has always been more effective when it becomes a team exercise. And yeah, it's like get the team together, grab a whiteboard, grab a digital, space if you need to do it remotely, but do it together. And that vision will not only be better, but it'll stand the test of time because even after you move on from the organization someday, right? It stays alive.
I think you kill almost three birds with one stone, right?
Yes.
One is, first of all, you established yourself as a good team player. Even though
Hmm.
you're the boss, you can
Yep.
show your organization uh, how you collaborate with them.
Hmm.
Second, you gain. So the second bird is you gain from the collective wisdom,
Hmm.
right? But think about this. We when we talk about the communication and vision, we also talk about the communication.
Yeah.
When everybody was a part of the
Yeah.
development of the vision, communicating that becomes an easy exercise.
Hmm.
And then communicating it, and especially when you are a more senior manager, like
Yeah.
when you have managers reporting to managers, it will make it much easier for your managers to
Relay
communicate
the
this
story.
vision further down
Yeah.
the organization.
Hmm.
So it helps with both collaborating together
Yeah.
to redefine or redesign or develop the vision, kills at least three birds with one stone, because
Hmm.
you can ease the communication as well.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Once you establish the vision and everybody is on the same board, it's going to be much easier for you to manage how the tasks are being performed in the organization, how to delegate parts of your authority of your work to other people.
Hmm.
And I think this is another extremely difficult task for the new managers. The new
Yeah.
managers like to grab the authority and the ownership of everything, and they don't want to release
Yeah.
everything because they just got it right. And I think the mature managers, on the other hand, typically are really great at delegating tasks to
Yeah.
within their organization, distributing the work according to people's skills and strengths and what their capabilities, their time
Hmm.
availability, and this kind of stuff. So I think learning how to delegate is going to be super important for the when you are in a position of leadership.
Yeah, and if we shift the focus a little bit from a corporate environment, right, and you move it to an SMB environment, right? It's often very difficult for a small business owner to do this part. Why? Because originally they were probably a team of one or two, right? And and they didn't get to have that exercise of building that joint vision together with a larger team. Therefore, when it's time to delegate, it's very difficult because your team starts growing. And if you don't take the time to go and step back and review that vision and revise, it might be too strong because you still, as a small business owner, you want it to still look a certain way, but you should revisit it and fine tune it to make sure that the new members of your now growing small business team understand it, so then you can delegate more. Why? Because they'll then understand and have an emotional connection to the vision, and you don't have to micromanage the how because they know what the what is. And I often, and as a small business owner myself, this is the part that sometimes I find difficult because I'm having to spin many plates at the same time, even with clean canvas, not just the tea business, right? And if I want to bring on a new train, a new coach or a new instructor, I have to be so intentional at taking the time to sit down and make sure I review what it should look like. This is what it should look like. This is how our clients need to feel. This is how they need to walk away with. What would you add to that? What would you contribute to that? Right? Bring them into that conversation. And I have to, I have to be so disciplined and intentional in doing that because I'm going 1,000 miles an hour. So I'm like, I just need you to go do this. I just need you to go do that. And it's like, okay, wait, right? Because then they would have no context, and then my customer experience suffers. And I would say that that's one of the biggest things I've learned in shifting from a corporate role to a small business owner role, which is, the corporate beast provides such a huge infrastructure for you and things that you don't have to worry about. And it allows you the time to do the visioning exercises and the whiteboard and all that good stuff. And when you're like a one or two or three-man band, it becomes very challenging as you keep growing. So the advice for the small business owner would be still take the time as you bring in every new employee to communicate and and reimagine and co-create that vision. Let them into your mind. Let them participate in this process, and then you can delegate more confidently so that you free up more time on your plate.
But I think, Renee, that the times are changing as well, because
Mhm.
now that I moved out of the corporate world and
Mhm.
I'm a small business owner,
Mhm.
I have realized that I can achieve a lot of activities by delegating tasks to people that are willing to collaborate with
Oh,
me.
yes. Mhm.
So somehow the world is changing to a more partnership,
Mhm.
collaboration,
Mhm.
exchange of ideas, and I'm I'm actually amazed by how many people are reaching out to me and saying, like, hey, Magic, I like what you do. Why
Yeah.
don't we why don't we work on this together,
Yeah.
right? And how much people are willing to, kind of take a piece of stuff and do it and bring it back, okay, to
Mhm.
you because it's done. Uh, I think it's maybe a warning to a lot of organizations, because I think the world is somehow developing towards less employment, more correct contractual
Oh,
relationships. I think
yes.
more freedom. Especially the younger people
Yeah.
seem to be liking to jump from project to project
Mhm.
rather than being employed by one employer all the time.
Yeah.
And I start to, and I enjoy it, Renee, to be
Yeah.
honest, because if I build it, and this is the fourth element on the slide, which is building the relationships and trust. If I build a good relationship with people and I build the trust, then
Mhm.
uh, I can almost kind of delegate a piece of work to them, and I know that they will deliver on this. I mean, take our example.
Yeah.
You don't need to poke me around to
Yeah.
schedule our weekly call, right? This
Yeah.
is kind of my responsibility,
Mhm.
uh, and in our duo, I
Yeah.
take care of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen this in so many different situations. I called a couple of people and I spoke with them about some of the ideas that we want to
Mhm.
develop together with
Mhm.
the B2 SMB Institute,
Mhm.
and they picked it up and then came back to me in a couple of days saying, "Hey, I looked at that, Magic, and here is my contribution to you."
Mhm.
So if you build this kind of a if you build this if you're able to build this organization, I think less and less you will need a formal authority over people to get them to do what they need to do. So delegating tasks is gonna, once you learn it, it's never gonna go away.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
something that will be extremely powerful to do. And you do the same. I know that you do the
Mhm.
same because you're collaborating with a number of people.
Mhm.
We have our kind of a regular staff meeting that
Yeah.
Clean Canvas Consulting,
Mhm.
and people are not employed. They are coming there and willing to contribute to
Yeah.
the success of your organization
Mhm.
just because you have built this trust relationship. And I see you delegating to people
Yeah.
tasks,
Mhm.
okay, that they need to do, and you are also happy to take some from
Yeah.
them and for myself to establish stuff, right, to
Yeah.
get stuff done. So I think this is the direction long term.
Yeah, and what I love that you've just described is that it's establishing authority in a different way, right? And it's redefining what teams are, and it redefines organizational structures because it's not the traditional hard line, you report to me and I report to you. And it might still be true in the corporate giants because their size probably dictates that they operate that way, but that also reduces their ability to be nimble and adapt to other environments, right? And what you just described is how the new world order for business startups, and we can amplify, or we can contract and retract as needed without putting so much, maybe potentially financial risk and so forth. But it's really a completely different way of operating, which is exciting to me.
The bottom line, the message from today to
Mhm.
everybody who is listening to us today and also to the reply later on is, this is a foundation. People, many times kind of say, "Hey, positional leadership,
Mhm.
use your position to drive business." It is a foundation of uh, what will be what you will be as a leader in the future. It's something that you have to have. You need to
Mhm.
learn how to leverage your position in a smart way to
Yeah.
drive the organization forward. You need to, when you start, you need to establish your position. Then you will be able to go to the level 2, 3, 4, and 5 of
Yeah.
the 5 level of leaderships that Renee and I are intending to go
Cover.
through on a weekly
Yes.
basis with you. Okay.
Yes. 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 Yeah. And so thank you for the time to listen to us today. Also start thinking about, right, the fact that in magic, I want to kind of, before we leave our audience, right? I love how you used our example, right? Because we've established authority, but based on our knowledge of the expertise of what we each bring to the table, right? And it's a great way to redefine that relationship and versus the classic, nobody in my team works for me singularly, right? Except probably my husband, but that's a whole different live. um
That's a whole
but
different levels of leadership.
yeah, yeah, totally different, totally different. But it's very interesting because positional power is, as we define it, is definitely changing my most treasured relationships, and how I'm thriving, and is we're working with other CEOs, other business owners, and that allows us to all kind of rise together. And I can't wait for us to explore the next level of the pyramid as we kind of explore these 5 levels
That's in a week.
in a
So
week. Yes.
we invite everyone to join us next week when we'll speak again. And despite all the vacation, we'll try to keep it a regular
Yes.
conversation with
It's
you
the
guys.
summer, right? We need our summer too. But yes, we will be here.
Thank you so much, Renee, and speak to
Thank
you
you,
later, everyone.
everybody.
Bye.